Yeah. What?
This shit is like a really popular fucking 9 years ago, 8 years ago. What the fuck? 4 years ago? Nah, this kind of feels the infographic show.
I have a challenge
we gotta
for
watch
all
it.
of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister's,
Now we
your
gotta
mother's
watch it.
computer, and install.
A Russian researcher enters a room where he expects to see his human test subjects alive and well. Instead, he witnesses absolute pandemonium. He hears screams of the damned, and in front of him is a body that's been torn apart and eviscerated. It looks as though the Antichrist himself has been in the room. Even the survivors have had chunks of flesh ripped from their arms and legs, their ends of their fingers shown exposed bone. Their faces are sheared of skin. What is this inferno of madness, thinks the researcher. This wasn't exactly how the experiment was supposed to turn out, he thinks. Okay, the food wasn't great. We might have made those beds a bit more comfortable, but tearing each other to shreds over a bit of lost sleep? Come on, guys. That's not very comrade of you.
I forgot what. Damn, what did I see the other day? I saw something at work, literally while I was on the shift, and it really like freaked me out. Oh, it was like some girl on TikTok. She put like a. It was like oh shit! I should probably do this. Hold on, sorry, y'all. There you go. Some girl on TikTok. She was like, she had said, or like, it was something about where if you see somebody like you, run. And like, obviously, she does a whole little charade where oh da da da, and then she sees someone that looks like her, except it was a weird, like creepy smiley face. That shit freaked me out. I don't know why. I'm gonna cut that shit out.
Their scenario is straight out of the famous Russian sleep experiment, if you believe it really happened. Let's start from the beginning of the story, and then we'll tell you what our team of world-class sleuths dug up on the truth behind this horrific experiment. So, it's the late 1940s, and Soviet-era researchers have created a stimulant that they believe can keep a person awake for a long time.
When was hold on, I'm not a history person, okay? So 14 to 18, 39 to 45.
Which is handy
So
when
this
you're
is World War
fighting a
II.
war. In the Second World War, the Germans had their version of such a stimulant, which was a formidable methamphetamine called Pervitin. The Americans and the British would dose their troops with the amphetamine Benzedrine, which was similar to your garden variety speed. The Soviets are looking to up the ante and use their own version of a drug, which won't lead to a total wipeout after a 3-day-long binge. They've made something special, but they need to test it on humans first. It's not hard to find test subjects since prisoners of war were aplenty in the 1940s. And where prisoners were concerned, bypassing ethical considerations wasn't such a big deal. They set up a test area where 5 subjects will stay. It's a sealed environment into which the researchers can release the stimulant in gas form and check if the levels of oxygen are okay. The subjects have been given dried food, each a bed with no bedding, running water, and a toilet. The researchers listen to the subjects through a microphone, and there are cameras through which they can monitor the subjects. The only portholes to the outside are 5-inch thick glass windows, which are barely good enough to see a shadow from. The scene is set, and the 5 men seem in good spirits for the first 3 days. The gas is doing its job, and the researchers are pleased about that. One researcher tells another, "Nazi meth, what a joke. Just wait until the world sees what we've cooked up. Comrade Stalin will be most pleased." The subjects have agreed to try and stay awake for 30 days, and have been falsely informed that if they can make the 30 days, they'll get their freedom. Such a deal seems fair to them. Things turn slightly dark around the 4-day mark, when the subjects start discussing war and the horrors they've seen.
Well, I mean, you gotta think of it also. Can I? Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can do it. Yeah, you gotta think about it also, right? 4 days. That's all it took. But they are prisoners of war. So you gotta factor that in. The fact that they literally, like, witnessed war, and they're prisoners now. And they're doing it in order to get granted freedom. So it's not just like, you know, it's not just like, oh, I'm take these drugs and try to stay awake. You know what I mean? It's
they
like,
speak of traumas, continual nightmares, other ghastly things they witnessed. Day 5, and things get worse. The men start showing signs of psychosis. talking to themselves and things that are not there. They grow paranoid of each other and start whispering into those microphones, telling stories about the other subjects. The researchers, of course, know all about sleep deprivation. After 5 days, the mind can turn on a person. Hallucinations can seem real and horrifying. But they wondered, was it the loss of sleep or the gas itself? Suspicions about the gas effects were more solid at day 9, when one guy just started screaming, howling like a banshee and running up and down the room. He screamed so much he seemed to tear his vocal cords, because after a few hours he squeaked like a children's toy. A few more days passed and there was an eerie silence. The men could not be seen from the cameras. They were alive for sure, since the oxygen levels indicated 5 breathing men, but where were they? The researchers hadn't wanted to interrupt the study, but they felt that they had no choice, and so said into an intercom, "We're opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you immediate freedom." They heard one voice respond. It said, "We no longer want to be freed." What was this? Had they been getting ripped on that gas and were now at...
Whoa. No, it's an infographic. I was gonna watch the other ones, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I thought I was gonna get cursed. Cause them shits is from like a while ago, so you never know. Oh, we can watch some real curse shit. I've seen some real curse shit in my day, but... No, this is an infographic show.
The
We're
researchers
safe here.
said there's nothing we can do but open the door. They opened the vents and let fresh air displace the residual stimulant. What the researchers heard next was the men screaming again, pleading for more of that damn fine gas. WTF, thought one of the Russians. Those guys are seriously hooked. They opened the doors on day 15, and to their surprise saw one man was dead. You know what the scene looked like because we laid that out for you in the intro, but we didn't tell you what happened shortly after the gruesome discovery of the half-eaten man and the wounded survivors. On closer inspection, the researchers saw that the wounds on the men were very bad. They looked as if they might have been self-inflicted too. They had torn the skin and muscles from their own chests, which revealed the horrific sight of the men's lungs. Each man, it had seemed, had performed this macabre surgery on himself. Blood vessels that were still working had been removed. Other internal organs were seen laid out on the floor like a piece of art, and the men were going to eat those morsels. They were dying on their own bodies and doing it with enthusiasm. The researchers called for backup, not daring to go near those poor wretches.
We know you're hovering over that button.
It's
but we need
weird.
your help.
I'm hovering over it. Hit the shot in my face.
They closed the door to howls of the men pleading for the gas to come back. When soldiers arrived to help remove the subjects, the extrication process wasn't exactly fun. One of the subjects ripped a man's throat right out, while another soldier had his balls removed. 5 soldiers lost their lives in total, but some of the victims took their own lives after the event. Once the subjects were out, the doctors injected enough morphine into them to sedate a Canadian moose. But the men still fought like wild beasts. One subject bled out and his heart stopped beating, but he still carried on screaming, "Give me gas! I need gas!" A doctor had some bones broken during that grim spectacle. The 3 others were eventually sedated and strapped and moved to a secure facility. The researchers talked to each other, saying things like, "That wasn't meant to happen, was it?" They hated to admit it, but maybe the Nazis, the Brits, and the Americans had done the right thing in just plying their troops with top-notch crank. The surgeons got to work on putting the missing organs and bits of viscera back into one man, but this guy almost broke through his restraints. When the docs finally got the anesthetic into him, the man's heart stopped and he died right on the spot. The autopsy showed he had broken 9 bones and his muscles were torn all over his body. When they tried to fix up the next man, they decided 2 deaths were enough and didn't use an anesthetic. They patched him up nice, sewing his ruptured organs and laying skin grafts on him. The head surgeon said this man should not be alive after what he's gone through, but he admired his own work. A nurse commented that during the surgery, the beast had been smiling at her. She did wonder how male carnal instincts can remain functioning during the worst times. Maybe with death comes the need to create something new, she philosophized, but quickly shook herself out of her reverie. The man suddenly started making a wheezing sound as if he wanted to say something. The nurse, quick to catch on, handed him a pen and a pad below it. The man wrote, "Keep cutting." Wow, she thought, what a maniac. She was glad she'd not reciprocated his flirty smile. As for the other maniac, he laughed like a hyena during his bodily reconstruction. He said he wanted that gas, the good stuff, and when asked why, he said he just needed it to stay awake. The surgeon mused, if these guys weren't so hell-bent on eating themselves, they'd make excellent night shift custodians. Cleaners, perhaps, or maybe security, but he knew all too well that they couldn't be trusted to wash their hands. Then, a former KGB agent had an excellent idea, something that had amazingly escaped everyone else's thoughts. Why not put these poor suckers back on that gas? He said it seems the problems all start when they all go into withdrawal. Hi, they're okay, if not a bit hyper and paranoid. We can work with that. Once back on the gas, they were fine and dandy, but then something strange happened. The EEG monitor showed crazy brain activity, but then it just died down. One man flatlined. Finally, he just died. His last boost of that junk had done him in, or at least it seemed so. The last guy ended up back in the study room with the other guy seemingly dead on the bed, but 3 researchers were in there too. Suddenly, one of the researchers shot the commander and then shot the subject. He then shouted out loud, "I won't be locked in here with these things, not with you. What are you? I must know." The subject that was shot but evidently was not dead replied, "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." That was almost the end, but for good measure, the researcher put a bullet into the man's chest.
You see, that's the thing that, okay, so you could go crazy, right? But, it could be the gas. It's just the gas, it's a side effect. It's not really a side effect of the fact that you're asleep.
Yeah, I've been that, yeah, I need that. Need to speed, the need to party, the need to call me all night, long nights, blinded lights, life fast, like too fast.